right, let's take you back to Parliament where we find our business editor, Golani Mbanjwa, part of the team there watching the build-up to the midterm budget policy statement. And Golani, as mentioned before, a tough balancing act once again for the Finance Minister as we try close this hippopotamus mouth, right? Increase in expenditure and decrease in revenue.
Good morning there in studio from here in the sunny Cape Town Parliamentary Precinct. Yes, indeed, there are a lot of things riding on this year's mid-term budget policy statement, with a lot expected. And from what we've heard and seen from various reports with regards to the challenges that the National Treasury has when it comes to revenue that is now in the corner, with government also borrowing over 2 billion rands a day to run its project. It is becoming unsustainable. But to get more from the sector and what the public expect, I'm joined now by Isaiah Mhlanga, who is the Chief Economist at Rand Merchant Bank. Isaiah, thank you very much for your time. What do you expect from the MTBPS this morning, judging by what we have read thus far in the run-up to this mid-term budget policy statement?
Look, thanks, Tolani. I think given the state of the economy from where we were in February budget, I think Treasury has to be realistic in terms of how the economy has changed. In terms of the cost of borrowing, it has gone up, but also in terms of the revenues that the state has been able to collect, which are running below the expectations. And then if you look on the expenditure side, government has overspent on wages. We still have state-owned companies that are requesting more money for bailouts. But we also have wage settlement agreements to come that government will have to pronounce on where it is likely to pay. And in addition to that, there is this reorganization of government that is currently underway, at least in terms of the planning, just to get a sense of how much will that save government in terms of its cost of running. So we expect a lot of those things. But over and beyond the current fiscal year, I think a credible growth strategy that is underpinned by a credible economic reform agenda is going to be quite key for the medium to longer term. Absent a credible reform agenda, it's going to put in question the fiscal path that National Treasury is going to table today.
One thing that has come out, Isaiah, in the run-up to this MTBPS is speculation whether the recommendations or discussions around tax increases. And we know that that is not going to be implemented in the mid-term budget, but that is a February budget policy. That's when it could be announced. But since we are a few months away, what would it mean for the ordinary man on the street if the value-added tax were to be increased by 1% or 2% as it has been suggested?
Look, I think if you just look in terms of some of the spending items Treasury would have to make pronouncement on, that's the SRD grant, the 350 per month that is given to some 8.5 million South Africans that are adults and unemployed. That cost the state just about 36 billion before you adjust for inflation. It's not budgeted for beyond March 2024, which means Treasury would have to pronounce on whether it continues, which we expect to continue. It will be, unexpected for Treasury to be able to cut it off, just a couple of months before a general election. So that also plays into what Treasury can do. Now, to fund a permanent SRD grant going into the future, you need a permanent revenue source. And value-added tax is one of those that can generate about 25 billion if it's 1 percentage point increase, to 50 billion if it's 2 percentage points increase, which can then sustainably, fund the SRD. But Treasury might also say they can increase the number of products which are zero-rated to cushion the poor from the VAT increase. That's one way, but it's never a complete solution to cushion the poor. VAT hits everybody that purchases goods and services, so it will also hit the poor, which can't respond as much because their income capacity is limited.
Azaya, thank you very much for your time. Well, you heard it there, just touching on some of the important aspects of this mid-term budget policy statement. What is government going to do when it comes to SOEs? Debt is spiraling out of control. Is VAT going to be increased? There are so many questions. Although when it comes to the question of VAT, the changes are not implemented in the mid-term budget, but rather in the February budget. There are a lot of questions, and a lot is riding on what is going to be happening today, and we know from reports and the report that we have seen from the Spear Wine Estate meetings between National Treasury and the Presidency that government wants a lot of changes when it comes to how government is configured. Back to you in the studio.
Golani Mbandra, part of our team there in Cape Town. For now, Golani, thanks very much indeed.